Hello and welcome to Cooking the Books with Heather. On this probably mini episode, we are going to be making shrimp stock. Now, this is from Deep Run Roots, Vivian Howard's cookbook, and shrimp stock is sort of a sub recipe inside the cast iron cooked red rice and soft shell scampi recipe, which we are not making today. But the shrimp stock is called for in the recipe we are making today. So first we have to make the shrimp stock. So the recipe we're making is shrimp and grits, and it calls back to this recipe, and which is interesting because there's no shrimp in this, but they use shrimp stock. So anyway, making shrimp stock today. And so our first thing is to take our vegetables that we're going to put in the shrimp stock, and we're going to grate them in our food processor. Now, shrimp stock, unlike most meat stocks, you don't have to cook it for a really long time. So we want these vegetables to be in really small pieces so that in these short cooking time, they will give up their flavor to the stock. When you're doing beef stock or chicken stock and you're going to boil it for a really long time, that doesn't matter. But for this one, it will. I think we're only cooking it for about 30 minutes. So I have carrots that I did not bother to peel, but I did scrub. I have celery. I have yellow onion and some garlic. And that's all that I'm going to grate in here, just all together, because it's going to go all into the pot together. And yeah, this is going to be loud. So all I've done is cut them into pieces that are small enough to fit into this hopper. So I'm gonna grate all of these vegetables. So I've got my vegetables all grated. Some of the pieces didn't go through the grater as well as I would like, but I don't really care. I'm just gonna put them in the pot anyway. I did choose the largest grating blade that I have for my food processor. And I'm just gonna scrape these. I'm gonna scrape these into my bowl, and we are ready to move to the stove. So we'll see you there in a second. So we're making shrimp stock, and I've got my pot, just a 4-quart, because we're only gonna make a little bit of shrimp stock, not a huge amount. It'll be way more than we need though. It's a 4-quart pot with, I actually measured out the oil, just neutral vegetable oil, heating over medium heat until it is shimmering. It's pretty hot. I'm gonna trust it's okay. So here I have shrimp shells. Now, for my recipe, I bought shrimp with shells on, but already deveined, and so basically the easy peel shrimp, because I don't like peeling shrimp. It's kind of a pain. So I've peeled them, and these are just the shells. I take the tails off. Some people leave them on because it's prettier that way, but I don't like to eat my dish with them on there, so I take them off. This is from 1.5 pounds of shrimp. Now, the recipe calls for 1 pound of raw shrimp shells. 1 pound of shrimp shells would be an awful lot. So I assume that she means from 1 pound, shells from 1 pound of raw shrimp. Whatever, I'm just gonna use all the ones that I have. These are pretty large shrimp, so have sort of less shells than smaller shrimp would have, like by weight. Anyway, whatever. We are gonna put the shells in here just to brown up a little bit before we add anything else. I just tried to leave any of the water in my bowl. So we're going to cook these until they are brown and, or until they are nicely pink, like shrimp shells do, and brown in places. So, okay, I think my shells are cooked enough. They are certainly all pink. It smells very strongly of shrimp right now. And I think we've got a few lightly brown places. So now I'm going to add all of those vegetables that we grated into the pot, and we're going to cook it for about 2 minutes or until the pot is pretty dry. Okay, my pan is definitely drying out. It's not entirely dry, but it's been like 3 minutes since I turned the heat up, and I'm much happier with this. But I'm going to go ahead and add the next ingredient, We have a little bit of tomato paste. I highly recommend buying a squeezy tube of tomato paste for recipes like this where you just need a little bit and not a whole, even the little can. Highly recommend. And some bay leaves. These are just dry bay leaves. And we're gonna cook this for 30 seconds or so. Just get it all mixed in, get it starting to cook a little bit. Now I'm gonna add the water. I'm gonna have to refill this a couple times. So I'm gonna do that. Just add the water. Okay, that's a lot of water in my 4-quart pot. That's what she called for. Now we're gonna bring this up to a boil and then we're gonna cover it and simmer it for just 30 minutes. So once it comes to a boil, I'll turn the heat down, cover it, probably gonna move it back to my back burner just to simmer for about 30 minutes because I have other things I need to do. But we'll let you know what it looks like when it's done. Okay, I know you guys can't see that much from here, but hopefully from there you can see this is our shrimp stock. It has cooked for, it simmered for about 30 minutes and then I just wasn't ready to strain it. So I put it on low heat just to keep it warm and I'm ready to strain it now. So all I'm gonna do is, I have my usual large measuring cup with the strainer that fits right in it. And I'm just going to spoon it in here. We'll catch all of the bits of vegetables and everything. That's a lot of them. And shrimp shells in that. And yeah, I'll go ahead. I think it's supposed to make 2 to 3 quarts, I think, of shrimp stock. And I'm just gonna strain it all and cool off what I don't need, and what I do need I'll be using really soon now. So that is our shrimp stock. On this episode of Cooking the Books with Heather, you watched me make the shrimp stock from Vivian Howard's Deep Run Roots cookbook. Now, this came from the cast iron cooked red rice and soft shell scampi recipe, but we didn't make that. We made just the shrimp stock for the shrimp and grits that we made. So we did not make the full recipe, but the shrimp stock was enough that we wanted to separate it out. And you could use it for whatever recipes she uses it in here for. So I want to say making shrimp stock is really actually one of the easiest stocks you can make from meat, and that's because you don't really have to cook it very long to get the shrimp flavor into it. Now, the amount of shells to use in here was a little bit unclear. Like I said, she calls for 1 pound of raw shrimp shells, which to me seems like the shells should weigh 1 pound, but that would be an awful, awful, awful lot. Now, granted, at the restaurant, I'm sure she has that many when she's making shrimp dishes. I don't. So I interpreted that to mean the shells from a pound of shrimp. I used the shells from about 1.5 pounds because that's what I was using for the other recipe. Anyway, that aside, it was really easy. You grate the vegetables because they doesn't even cook very long. So you just grate the vegetables in the food processor. So that was sort of necessary, but you can just chop them up pretty finely instead of using that. It's just much easier to use the food processor. But yeah, if you have the shells available, which this recipe does not include any shrimp, so it'd be more difficult at that time, then it's really a simple recipe, and you get a lot of shrimp flavor to add to your dish. So all in all, if I were making it by itself, I would say it's a really easy recipe, not a problem. And the good thing is now I have at least 2 cups, maybe a little bit more, of shrimp stock in my freezer for the next time I need to use it. So if you enjoyed watching me make this, please hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and come back and watch me make something else.